two important persons. The first was Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk and Edvard Beneš. So we got our own Czechoslovak Republic. So actually the famous Munich Agreement, it's what we call in Czechia as about us without us. Munich Agreement, it influenced us a lot, and it kind of taught us that like we can never really rely on the other European countries, you know. So like
Know Your Neighbors, a podcast by Maldo and Giulio.
Hello! Welcome to Know Your Neighbors, episode 13!
We made
it! Finally, we are coordinated. So today,
almost halfway, yeah? By the way.
Almost halfway,
Yeah.
indeed. Almost halfway. Only 14 to go? Yes.
Yes.
So today we're here with Pabla.
hello.
Hey, Paul, welcome to Know Your Neighbors.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, we almost forgot
Yes.
to
Cheers.
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 Cheers! So as you might notice, if you're seeing the video, we are drinking different things, which is a pity, because where are you from? Tell us. And where is this beer from?
So this beer is a Czech beer from
Yes.
Czech Republic.
Which is very good, by the way.
Very good one.
Very
Very good
nice.
one.
Which, as you may recall, we drank it already during the Slovak episode, but today we're actually
Cheers for
drinking
that.
it
You
properly.
know.
We didn't find a Slovak beer, so
You know why? Because the Czech is the best.
I knew you would say that. So tonight we're drinking it properly for the Czech episode. So actually, we are aligned.
And you like it.
I love it. It was good last time. It was good this time. But you don't like it.
I don't like it, no. But actually now you completely discredited me for this
As a Czech.
episode. Yeah, so Czech Republic is famous for beer, I think.
100%. Maybe could it be? I don't know if sometimes you see those statistics. Alcohol consumption, beer consumption per
The
capita,
first,
and I think
the
like
first.
Czech is probably the first or not the
Yes.
first.
I think I never saw those statistics. Well, Giulio.
I don't know why I saw this statistic, but
Yes.
forget about me.
It's our national pride. That's why, I'm sorry
Not
to...
yours.
Not
No.
yours.
Were you bullied for that?
Yes, it was very difficult growing up.
That's
Czech
why you
Republic.
escaped to Luxembourg.
Exactly, yeah. No one bullies me here for not drinking beer, so that's why. That was the main reason.
Well, we can tell. We like it. You don't
Yeah.
enjoy it, but you're having your nice cider. So.
But I'm happy to recommend it to others.
Voila. You see?
Okay,
Yeah.
let's say it's good enough.
Still national pride.
But okay, so history-wise, where are we gonna start from?
It's a long history, no?
It's a long history, so I think we have to cut it a bit to
I love-
fit it into
by the way-
30.
I love that every person says it, of course, because Europe is very rich. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
it's a very long history. I'm like,
Yes.
Indeed.
I knew that when I said that. I realized like every other country.
fair enough.
Okay, but let's see why Czech history is so
Yeah,
Special.
So special.
where do you want to start? Where is like the first thing you would like to
World
to
War
say?
One. But a
Let's
bit
start
of
before.
context.
Let's start before at the Habsburg Empire, probably because that was a big part of the Czech history for like
The
3 centuries.
Hungary Empire.
Yes, the Austro-Hungarian, exactly. So it was part of our history for 3 centuries, basically, from the 16th century to the First World War.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily. Then we could move on to our own independent state for the very first time.
In 1918.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So during the Habsburg monarchy, actually there were some significant changes that happened and that influenced the Czech
As it is now.
nation. Yes. So, for example, there were some important reforms, the metric system, united metric system, monetary reform, because the empire needed money for wars. But actually a good thing on the other hand. from economic point of view.
Yeah.
Then there was the reform about the school reform when each child was required to go to school for a few years. And we should also probably mention that at some point was decided that the whole empire needs to understand each other, so everyone can, when you go to the authority, everyone speaks the same language.
Common language.
Yes,
Mhm.
so everyone can learn from each other and thrive and prosper in this amazing.
All
so,
united.
Exactly.
And that language was German. Okay.
The language was German. Yes.
Of all the languages,
Of all
the
the
easiest
languages.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not similar a lot at all to Czech.
No. Maybe from grammatical point of view, but
Okay.
otherwise,
Very
no,
different.
not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a bit of resentment from the Czech nation actually to fully give up and just speak German, and there were some movements in literature and art when Czech people were fighting for the Czech language to survive. And we were not so successful as Hungarians in the fight, and especially after what the Hungarians managed to achieve to get their own actually state
Within the empire.
the empire. After that, Habsburgs were sure that this is not gonna happen again.
Okay.
So the Czechs and Slovaks, they had no hope
No
for
chance
their
for
own,
them.
for the same achievement as the Hungarians. So
That's interesting. So there was some idea, some push for like national identity, but there was not.
100%.
Okay, they didn't allow it to.
no, it was not possible. After what Hungarians managed, they knew it's not gonna. They were not gonna allow it again.
Okay.
But we were patient and we waited, and we managed during before the First World War. So actually, there were like two important persons.
Mm-hmm.
The first was Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk and Edvard Beneš, and Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk was very important figure in the Czech history.
Czechoslovakia history.
Czechoslovakia history.
Still,
I'm bad with names.
respect for our Slovakian neighbor. That was the first on our podcast.
Ivan.
True.
No, but
True.
yeah.
Thank you for the correction. It's true, completely true.
But just for curiosity, is like nationality-wise, ethnicity-wise, is Czech?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why we divorced in 19.
Okay.
It was not a match.
It was a velvet divorce.
Yes.
Which is.
Yes, very nice. We're still friends, ended on a good terms.
Okay.
Still hanging out a lot. But no, not a good match.
Not good enough anymore.
For the marriage, no.
Okay, but so he was an important figure because.
Yes. So back to Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, the national hero. I think we could say he's like kind of national hero.
There's a big statue in Prague, or
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Of course.
So whoever goes to Prague, check it out.
Yes, and in Brno. In front of my university, which is called Masaryk University. Yes.
Okay,
Little promotion.
Why was he considered such a big?
Because he was fighting for the independent state.
During the war.
Exactly. So actually during the First World War, Czech and Slovak were refusing to fight for the Austrian Empire. And we were like secretly working from inside against them. So we were getting our soldiers to UK to join the UK army. And Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk was going to UK and France and to US to negotiate the terms of the independent Czechoslovak state after the First World War. So he was convincing the other countries why we should get our own.
He was lobbying, let's say, for Czech.
Exactly. He was very good diplomat and politician, and he was very well accepted actually abroad. He was very well known and well accepted. And then later on, we actually have another figure that kind of based his work on his. But this was during communism actually.
Okay.
So
we'll
bit
get that.
a bit similar story.
Okay,
Similar
so
story.
he built the ground
Yes.
during the war with his
The World War
trade,
One. Yes.
World War One, yeah,
Yes.
with his nice trade and diplomat
Yes. So
attitude.
we
and
were.
then when the war ended, he
When the war ended, then we basically followed the world order that was agreed.
At the
With the
Paris
other countries.
Versailles conference.
Yes. So we got our own Czechoslovak Republic, which
Yay.
is
Cheers to that.
which was called the First Republic, and yes, that was like a good
So,
period.
First
for
time we were
Czech history.
independent, so not anymore under the
Yes.
Austrian Empire.
Yeah, not under anyone for a while.
For a while, yeah.
For a while, not for long.
question
Mm.
during the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You mentioned that you wanted to have the independence, but you lost hope. This independence, you actually, let's say, it was foresaw as Czech, or it was always foreseen as Czech and Slovakia.
Yeah, I think at that point we were still Czechoslovak. There
Yeah.
were Czechoslovak
So the
ambitions.
idea, it was
Yeah.
Czechoslovak ambition. Then when you got into Czechoslovakia is when actually it changed.
Well, it's more the 90s when we.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because first, like the First Republic was still
Fine.
was
okay.
still fine.
Although, if I recall, to be honest, like I don't even recall what happened in our own podcast. But I think like it's been a while since the Slovak episode. I think Ivan was saying, so the guy that talked about Slovakia, there was more like elite and intellectuals in Czechia than in Slovakia.
Yes.
So you were more like driving this process rather than so it was not a
Yes.
perfectly balanced.
Yeah, this is
situation.
also the reasons why later on it ended like this, because also the capital was Prague.
Okay.
The
But
main,
there was actually-
the politics center was Prague. The industries were in Czechia. So
Yeah.
it was
you
not
know,
balanced, union, let's
yes,
say.
exactly.
Okay.
Good
Okay.
for us, but
Yeah, but okay,
Well,
it makes sense. It makes sense that the divorce was actually
Yeah.
demanded.
yeah.
Well, before we get to the divorce, so you've been together, okay? So
For
we're
20
in,
years.
Yeah, we're 1918.
Yeah, the
so
First
World War
Republic,
One.
nice period, and then
Bad stuff happened.
bad
so
stuff. Yeah.
so the First Republic is a period of like growth and let's say
yeah.
thriving in
Yeah.
a way.
20 years of a lot of stability.
Yes. Exactly.
Democracy.
The industrial, growth and nice period. But the independent Czechoslovakia was not in line with the ambitions of our hungry neighbor that formed quite a strong position in Germany. And because the conditions in Germany were different,
Yeah, it was
right?
changing.
So
But what was the main issue? There was a particular, let's say, thing that someone in
yes,
Germany wanted.
okay. So the thing is that in the borders with Germany, there was quite a majority of German speakers living. And apparently surprisingly, they were not so happy in the independent Czechoslovakia. Apparently Czechoslovakia was very happy to have their own state for the first time, and maybe they liked it too much, or I don't know. We don't know, we were not there. But basically there were some movements, signals that they would maybe want to be part of the neighboring country, which one person found very convenient and used it as a reason to basically extend the territory.
It's Adolf Hitler, we can say it. I mean, just
One person.
no, just
Oh, by the way, it was Hitler.
By the way,
not
guess
to
who?
people,
The riddle. Let's solve the riddle. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you use an excuse the fact that there was a German minority
Yes.
in Czechia that wanted
Yes.
to be so.
Exactly. So
So there's a storm happening in Luxembourg, guys.
Yes.
In the meantime, so
after very hot day.
us talking, yes, today is super hot, but yes.
Yes. Okay, so Hitler and Munich agreement.
You see, we speak about him and like there's
Bro, on the
so
sky.
we need more of us,
falls
huh?
apart.
What a sad story, no?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So actually, the famous Munich agreement, it's what we call in Czechia as about us without us.
Okay.
About us, without us.
Interesting. Okay.
Very nice.
Yes, and like my personal opinion, not scientifically proved or anything.
We want to-
I think that this might be also a reason why in Czechia there are people that are very EU-skeptical, because this was seen as a huge betrayal, you know,
Okay.
from the other European countries.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, see, from today's eyes.
Mm.
And for context, to take a step back, what is agreement? What did it mean? What did it? What were the implications?
So basically it was agreed that this territory of the borders called Sudet will be surpassed to Hitler.
So they gave part of the
It was
land.
given.
And it was given, as you were saying, not by Czechoslovakia.
Not by us, it
by
was,
other people.
decided that we give it.
Okay.
So we were told, give it.
Like, deal with it.
Just do it. Because, we could fight, but we knew these countries are not gonna help us.
So it was actually France, Britain that decided
US.
to the US to basically have an agreement with Hitler to.
They
limit-
thought it's gonna prevent the war. They thought they are buying a peace in Europe with this
Okay.
step. As
Instead.
we know, it was just
One more.
It was just
Spoiler,
the beginning.
Didn't happen.
Yeah. So the ambition of UK and these countries didn't really materialize because he kind of returned 1 year later and he wanted the rest.
Yeah.
So
wasn't enough.
exactly.
And in between, this was this very short-lived Second Republic.
Yes,
between,
there was a
different stuff.
period when
Temporary,
we
yeah.
established the Second Republic, hoping that we can still
Survive.
survive, but
So this was without the territory that was annexed to Germany.
Yeah, so
And
reduced,
yes.
And then,
Yeah.
voila!
And we thought we could still keep the rest,
Yeah.
but no.
But 1939 arrived and the
so-
Second World War.
During World War II, then Czechia was occupied
By Germany.
Okay.
Yes. But there were again like movements against, like we were again trying, like sending soldiers to the other countries
Okay.
and
So-
trying to fight against them because we didn't want to fight with them. We were not with them. We didn't want to be part of the
Of the German right.
new
Yeah.
empire or whatever.
Here.
So, so there was some resistance, strong
Okay.
resistance. But
Okay.
like we couldn't do a lot, right? When they came, like what could we do? Nothing. We knew no one is gonna come to help us, and
Yeah.
what use it would be to.
Yeah. So and then there's been, I guess, occupation, the war. I mean, that's
Yes.
unfortunately something that affected the whole Europe to different extent. And
But I think honestly that really this Munich agreement it influenced us a lot, and it kind of taught us that like we can never really rely on the other European countries, So like there was even a resistance to join the European Union. Like, back then, when we had the president, he was he did it against his will, basically.
Really? Okay,
Yes,
interesting.
yeah.
There's I didn't know.
I think this
People was skeptical.
exactly, because I think this kind of showed us that okay, you only can rely on yourself, because at the end it's just you, you know. Everyone else is gonna just give you to another.
Yeah, I mean, and fair enough, because if it's like the countries that supported after the war and help you be that successful during the First Republic, suddenly are the ones that give a piece of you to somebody else.
So the trust was broke.
Okay.
The trust was broke.
Yeah. No, that's
But then, in any case, after World War II, you fell under a different influence.
Yeah, the World War II, and luckily we were saved by our. Yeah, by the big nation with good intentions and nothing else. Yeah. So the Second World War, Russia saved us from Germans. They defeated them, and then they stayed.
And then they said, well,
Yeah.
now's my time
Thank you for
for
coming.
party.
Yeah. They were like, oh guys, okay, we helped you and we are willing to help more, you know, like, so we are gonna help you to set your new independent country. We're just here to help if you need. But we didn't, and we didn't want, which they didn't like. So here we go, 1968, Prague Spring.
So wait, just in between, you were like under Soviet rule, or
We were under influence,
okay,
but
not direct,
independent.
not direct rule. Okay.
Yes,
You were in the Warsaw Pact. You were in the
Yes.
alliance of, okay.
yes. But we were kind of like, trying to go against them. Actually, we were like, okay, guys, you saved us, nice, but it's like it's the kind of like when you invite someone and the guest doesn't know when to leave, you know, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm very tired, you know, like time to leave.
I heard, by the way, sorry, random fact, in France, to signal when a guest wants to leave, they take out orange juice. So if you, yes, if you offer at the end of the night orange juice, no, Marie didn't tell us, but I'm saying it now, it's a signal that you want them to leave. FYI, so.
I had no idea.
So let's say the Russians didn't get there anyway.
They didn't get the signal.
They didn't say, they thought it was something else.
So there were hints, but they were either not read or ignored. And yeah, we were trying to really drive the politics in a different way, you know. We didn't want the same things. But then we...
Sorry, that was for 20 years.
Exactly.
So like 48 until 68.
Yes, exactly.
But still, like, did Czechia had a communist system, or they were trying to have more of a like capitalist?
Yes, but in our own way.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, we were kind of like maybe like open to their input, but we did things our way, and we actually were doing more and more to move a bit distance ourselves. That's why they returned with tanks.
Okay.
Basically we didn't have a choice.
So
after the Prague Spring, we were in full under the full control of Russia. Actually, before, so we were kind of under the influence. We were still independent. We could decide for ourselves, but with a strong influence. So, for example, we were prevented from accepting the Marshall Plan.
Okay.
So when Czech delegation went to Russia to tell them we would really love to get the Marshall Plan, they were like, no.
Okay.
So yeah, like we don't know what happened there, but the delegation returned and said that it's not gonna happen. We are not gonna accept it. So we kindly refused, and I think that was the beginning of us being left at the mercy of and then they even came with like the strength. So.
What about the Prague uprising in the spring? Like what was that like? So Russians came in full force. What triggered that?
It was triggered by the efforts, the Czechoslovak efforts to distance ourselves.
Okay.
So they could see that we are kind of driving away, and they were like, no.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen.
We are coming and we are not letting it happen, So, and for many people it was a huge disappointment actually, because there were people that genuinely believed that they are our friends and they are really here to help us grow and thrive, and and there were people that took it as a personal betrayal when actually they showed that they never had good intentions.
So basically, you were betrayed by everyone. You were betrayed by
exactly.
The unique agreement by the.
Yes.
Someone please help the Czechs.
Help. So then Russia kindly stayed and
until the end. I guess.
Until yes. And
for
then,
30 years, right?
Yes, and then so since 1968 till 1989, we were basically under their
Soviet control.
Yes, exactly, and the borders closed, so no one was allowed to travel outside. No one was allowed to travel inside. So I think this also influenced a lot how the country looks now, and how maybe we are not so like
what are you gonna say?
well integrated, or how to say, we are not so like
with the West European countries, or
like
because
open
you had
to exploring, and because
you had more years of
isolation.
We were isolated for way too long. Now it's so much better, but imagine 1989, the revolution, and then actually there was a strong figure, Václav Havel, and he was also so originally actor or like a director, and a student of philosophy. And then he kind of self-appointed himself for like the fighter for the Czechoslovak independence, same as Masaryk before. So again, Havel was going abroad, and he was forming like the new government basically, and trying to get the world on our side, to really end this communist occupation.
Yeah, also because at that point, Soviet Union was getting weaker.
Exactly.
So people could sense that.
So actually there are discussions because there were huge student manifestations in Prague in
against
89.
the Soviet Union.
Exactly, and they were quite brutal. Like the police was attacking them, students, And some people say, that's what like made the Czech nation stand up for themselves, because it was their children, that were got beaten. And that's why it happened. That's why the revolution happened. That's why we were managed to get rid of this regime. Some say that actually it was already agreed before. It would happen already, even if if these manifestations wouldn't happen. Who knows?
But I would say it's good to see big popular movement that is in favor of change.
Definitely. Yeah, it was like first time for us that we actually. No, it was not the first time. Let's not forget. The attack on the German.
When the territories.
True. Yeah. So let's say maybe it's something that I kind of came back as a national pride to get.
I would say that before we were actually trying now and then, like sending, like during First World War, sending Czechoslovak soldiers. During the Second World War, the attack on the Hitler's second man, Heydrich.
Oh yeah, really?
Yes.
It was
done by Czech.
people.
Yeah, but two Czech soldiers And
Wait, is it the one about the movie?
yeah, Lidice.
Ah, okay.
Exactly. So
Interesting.
I don't know that movie.
yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah.
So basically, two Czech soldiers, they planned attack on the Hitler's second most important person. They managed to kill him, and then the revenge came, and basically Hitler completely burned the villages where these two soldiers came from.
My
Yeah,
God.
they killed everyone. They completely burned the villages, took them out of the map. So, we were trying.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah,
Do-
but it was
Do
difficult.
a bit of resistance. But this was like the first big movement
Uprising.
when we
Okay.
actually rised up and we were like, no, like
Yeah.
And you
go
managed.
out, We managed, yeah. Who knows if it was already gonna happen or not, because as you said, the communist regime was already weak in Russia.
Yeah.
So it was happening already, but yes.
It was a push, at least a push.
It was all together, I think,
Yeah.
all connected.
Okay, so then you were not communist anymore. Which type of government was formed after communism, and then how did it lead to more nowadays and they entered to the EU actually, because it was not
Yeah,
long
NATO,
after
and,
the formation of NATO,
Mm.
the EU, it's the ¿cómo era? Comunidad Económica
Economic,
Europea. Economic.
European
I know it in
Yeah.
Spanish. I love it. Like, haha, you can notice that history classes in school were in Spanish. That for sure.
Yeah.
And-
We all know what you mean. but-
Exactly.
See.
So yeah, like how was all of this, especially considering what you mentioned before on the fact that Czechs were quite, let's say, reluctant
Yes.
or hesitating.
Mm. Yes, and actually also to continue a bit with the Czech spirit, or how to say.
Yes, tell us
So
about
we
it.
didn't have a lot of chance in the history to really fight against whoever came to take over, But actually there's one interesting fact that, have you heard about Hussites?
About?
Hussites. It was the Christian Protestant church in back in 15th century in the Czech crown countries.
Okay.
And it's actually considered as the one of the first European or revolutions in Europe, or like
Okay.
a revolutionary movement. So that's just one fun fact.
So it's kind of like in the part of the identity.
Yeah, so you can see we are fighters.
Fighters.
It's
Okay,
not-
okay.
But okay, back to the modern history. So after the communism is over, voila, the borders are opening, we get free market, privatization of public companies, corporations. So yeah, interesting times, a lot of corruption. Like politics was a mess back then. Funny fact, actually, we still have a communist party in the
Really?
yeah.
Okay. Does it get many votes?
Yes,
Really?
Oh.
Okay. Interesting.
yes.
Okay, okay.
It gets to the opposition usually.
Okay.
So like 5% normally. Yeah.
Okay, but
For the old good times, like
Just
some
remember.
nostalgic people
so
are
that
like,
nobody forgets.
it was better during communism, everyone had work, everyone had the house, everyone had this, that.
But in reality, I mean, Czechia thrived, I think, in the 90s.
So after we overcame this little mess, because of course, like, you give country
Freedom,
free
yeah.
market, no one knows what to do with them. No one knows how it works, there was no know-how.
All of a sudden, you can choose between different things.
Yeah,
and,
people were not allowed to study during communism, so not a lot of educated people,
Yeah.
no know-how, how to navigate the free market. No one could travel, there were no experiences even brought from abroad. So, interesting times, 90s. But then, yes, in 2004, as the many other countries, we joined the European Union, we joined NATO, and we were like, oh, again, like it's happening, we are thriving, we are joining the winning side, and yes. there was a bit of reluctance from some, as I said, the president basically signed against his will because there was a referendum, so, but he remained highly EU skeptical until the rest of his
Is it
time.
a feeling that you think is still nowadays in Czechia, or?
I think it's divided,
Okay.
as probably in the other European countries. I think it's divided because some people, they really want to believe in this European spirit, European vision. And some people are very happy that we are part of the European Union. Some people also realize that we have better chances to prosper as part of this. But then there are people that think that it's just hurting us, that we would do much better without European Union actually.
But as you said, it's quite unfortunate. Unfortunately, it is what it is, but it's quite common in many countries.
Yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah. But interesting the link also with, I think, like the link with the Munich Agreement. It's an interesting.
That's because I think it's still in us, kind of like this historical betrayal and historical also during communism, like that were difficult times because people were being monitored and watched, and the police was strong, and there was no freedom of speech, of movement, so people were you couldn't even trust your neighbor, that the neighbor is not gonna say that you had some gathering at your house, right?
They made
so I think that historically we are highly cynical, suspicious, exactly. And that's our position also towards the European Union. But I have to say that actually the last elections were very good in comparison to Slovakia, now that we can mention again. And I think this also shows a bit that we are really different.
And
nations.
this brings me to the fact that we didn't mention the
the
Velvet
divorce.
Revolution, the divorce.
Yes.
Like
sure.
at least to mention, because we need to start wrapping up. But like we didn't mention the year when this happened, and actually Czechoslovakia became Czechia.
Yes. So 1993.
1993. Okay.
Okay. So it was after the fall of communism.
Yes. For a few years we tried.
Okay. Well, we were together. Let's stay together.
But it didn't work.
Okay.
It didn't work, and 1993 we signed. It was fine. We still remained very close. I believe that like Czechoslovak alliance is like strong in European Union. For example, like I think we always used to kind of try to cooperate and stay close with also the Poland and Hungary, but now we are completely going different directions with Slovakia and Hungary. So
So basically, and then thank you for making the link.
Yes. So the Velvet Revolution, basically.
And it's Velvet Revolution because it was super peaceful. Just
it was like there was no
Guns.
bad feelings,
Like,
nothing, no
we're
violence. It's just like, oh, you want to be free? Yeah, okay. We also want to be like
If
separate.
all history would have been this way,
we were just
What
like,
a
let's
different
do it. Let's
world.
see where it goes,
Yeah.
So
And to wrap it up and also to link it again to more like, let's say, contemporary things, as you said also, Czechia is not politically now is not similar to Slovakia. Or Hungary,
so
what
luckily,
is happening in Czechia these days?
Luckily, the last presidential elections, we voted the pro-EU candidate. He actually used to work in NATO. He had quite a high position in NATO.
When were the elections, roughly?
2 years ago, something like this. And then
the elected president runs for 4 years.
Yes, exactly. And then the governmental elections, it was 4 years ago, so actually we have new elections in October. And last time there was actually a coalition of 5 different parties democratic, pro-EU right parties because they tried to prevent one person from winning the elections. So there is one Slovak politician. It was a farewell gift from Slovakia, and he, it's like a billionaire, and he managed to become a prime minister. So he formed a party, and he managed to succeed in the elections. He became first he was the Minister of Finance, and later on he was a prime minister during COVID time, actually. And after that, but he's like he's being investigated for many like fraud and like stealing, misusing EU funds, you know. So yeah, I would say Czech people were a bit fed up with him, especially, you know, more pro-EU people, more like I would say like young people, you know, and So at the last election, we managed to not have him elected again.
Kick him out.
Exactly. But let's see what happens now, because last time they managed only because they merged 5 different.
So big coalition.
Exactly. But of course, if you have so many different parties, it's a mess.
Yeah.
So people are actually not very happy with the current government. So let's see what happens now with the next elections. But I have to say, our government, pro-EU, democratic, we are good on this side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So thanks a lot. Fingers crossed for October elections.
Yes, please.
Keep an eye. Well, we will keep an eye on it.
We will keep an eye on it. Yeah. And yes, so I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pabla. Yes, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye.